My sister's in-laws burst into laughter when I walked into their elegant dining room, wearing my simple black dress, arriving alone to their exclusive dinner party. They whispered about the unsuccessful sister, who couldn't even find a date, but their expressions transformed into stunned silence when Governor Patricia Hendricks stood up and announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to meet Rebecca Chen, the brilliant strategist who masterminded my historic election victory. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you." The evening of October 15th began like countless others in the affluent Riverside Heights neighborhood of Montgomery Valley, where my sister Catherine had built her picture-perfect life. The sprawling colonial homes stood testament to success measured in square footage and manicured lawns, each property representing years of careful career advancement and strategic social positioning. Catherine had married into the prestigious Whitmore family 18 months earlier, securing her place among the community's established elite through her union with Jonathan Whitmore, a prominent corporate attorney whose family had wielded influence in local politics for 3 generations. The Whitmore family gatherings represented more than simple social occasions. These carefully orchestrated events served as informal power meetings, where business deals were discussed over wine, political endorsements were negotiated during dessert, and social hierarchies were reinforced through subtle displays of wealth and accomplishment. Every guest understood the unspoken rules of engagement, the careful balance between displaying success and maintaining appropriate modesty, the art of conversation that revealed status while appearing effortlessly natural. Catherine had adapted to this environment with remarkable skill, transforming herself from the ambitious marketing coordinator I had grown up with into the polished wife of a rising legal star. She had mastered the subtle language of designer clothing that signaled membership in exclusive circles, learned to discuss art acquisitions and vacation destinations with casual sophistication, and developed the ability to navigate complex social dynamics, where every interaction carried multiple layers of meaning and implication. The transformation had been gradual but comprehensive. Catherine had always possessed intelligence and ambition, qualities that had driven her through her business degree and early career advancement. However, marriage into the Whitmore family had required a different type of strategic thinking, one focused on social positioning rather than professional achievement. She had embraced this challenge with characteristic determination, studying the behavioral patterns and communication styles that would ensure her acceptance among established family members and their extended social network. Jonathan's parents, Harold and Margaret Whitmore, represented the family's old guard values and expectations. Harold had built his reputation through decades of corporate law practice, serving major clients whose business interest intersected with local political development. Margaret had dedicated her career to philanthropic leadership, serving on boards of cultural institutions and charitable organizations that provided platforms for exercising social influence, while maintaining the appearance of community service and civic engagement. Their approach to family relationships reflected the same strategic thinking that had guided their professional success. Every interaction served multiple purposes, from reinforcing family loyalty to gathering information about social and business developments that might affect their interest. They had welcomed Catherine warmly once they recognized her commitment to adapting to family expectations, but their acceptance came with clear conditions about behavior, appearance, and social positioning that would reflect appropriately on the Whitmore name and reputation. The extended family network included Jonathan's siblings and their spouses, each representing different aspects of professional achievement that contributed to the family's collective influence. His older brother Marcus had followed their father into corporate law, building a practice that specialized in municipal contracts and zoning issues. Marcus's wife, Victoria, had carved out her own niche in real estate development, focusing on luxury residential projects that served the community's most affluent residents while generating substantial profits and important business relationships. Jonathan's younger sister, Caroline, had pursued a career in finance, working for an investment firm that managed portfolios for wealthy individuals and institutional clients. Her husband, David, operated a consulting business that advised local politicians on campaign strategy and public relations, creating connections that proved valuable for family business interests. Together they represented a network of professional relationships that extended the family's influence across multiple sectors of local economic and political activity. My position within this complex social ecosystem had always been ambiguous and somewhat uncomfortable. As Catherine's sister, I held a certain claim to family connection, but my career path and lifestyle choices placed me outside the circles of influence and achievement that defined acceptance within the Whitmore sphere. While they had built their success through traditional professional advancement and strategic social positioning, I had chosen a path that prioritized impact over income, meaningful work over social status, and personal values over conventional measures of achievement. My career in political strategy and campaign management had developed through a series of calculated risks and unconventional decisions that had yielded professional satisfaction but limited financial reward. I had started as a volunteer coordinator for local candidates whose platforms aligned with my values, gradually building expertise in voter outreach, message development, and strategic planning. My work had contributed to several successful campaigns for candidates who represented diverse communities and progressive policy positions, but these victories had occurred largely outside the attention of mainstream political establishment. The nature of campaign work meant that my professional achievements remained largely invisible to people outside political circles. Success in campaign management was measured through election results rather than traditional markers like salary progression, office promotions, or public recognition. The most effective campaign managers often worked behind the scenes, developing strategies and managing operations, while candidates received public credit for victory. This invisibility had allowed me to build substantial expertise and professional relationships, while maintaining a low public profile that suited my personality and work style. My personal life had followed a similarly unconventional trajectory. While Catherine had prioritized finding a partner who could contribute to her social and economic advancement, I had focused on building a career that provided intellectual stimulation and meaningful contribution to causes I supported. This focus had resulted in a series of short-term relationships with individuals who shared my values but lacked the stability or social positioning that would impress the Whitmore family network. The contrast between our life choices had created tension that Catherine and I rarely discussed directly but that influenced every family gathering and social interaction. She had achieved the traditional markers of success that our parents had encouraged us to pursue, while I had chosen a path that appeared unsuccessful by conventional measures. Catherine's marriage had provided her with financial security, social status, and a clear trajectory for future advancement, while my career offered intellectual fulfillment, but limited prospects for the type of lifestyle that the Whitmore family considered appropriate and desirable. These underlying tensions had been manageable during casual family visits and brief social encounters, but they became more pronounced during formal gatherings, where the contrast between our circumstances was highlighted by the social dynamics and expectations of the Whitmore family environment. Catherine had learned to navigate these situations by presenting carefully curated versions of our family background that emphasized our shared education and professional ambitions, while minimizing details about my current circumstances that might reflect poorly on her own social position. The October 15th dinner party represented a particularly significant event in the family's social calendar. Governor Patricia Hendricks had recently announced her intention to seek re-election, and her campaign would require substantial financial support and organizational assistance from influential community members. The Whitmore family had historically maintained relationships with political leaders across party lines, providing support that ensured access and influence regardless of election outcome. Harold had indicated his intention to play a prominent role in supporting the governor's re-election effort, and the dinner party would provide an opportunity to discuss strategy and coordination with other family members and key community leaders. The guest list for the evening reflected the family's broad network of professional and social relationships. In addition to immediate family members, the gathering would include several business associates whose companies might benefit from continued access to state government contracts and regulatory decisions. Margaret had invited representatives from cultural organizations who relied on state funding and political support for their program. Caroline and David had suggested including several couples from their professional networks who could contribute financial resources or volunteer assistance to campaign activity. Catherine had described the evening to me as an opportunity for family bonding and social networking, downplaying the political and business aspects that would dominate conversations and relationship building. She had emphasized the importance of making a positive impression on family members and guests, suggesting that my attendance might help establish better relationships that could benefit my own career development. Her invitation had felt genuine and encouraging, representing a gesture of inclusion that I had appreciated despite my awareness of the complex social dynamics that would shape the evening's interaction. My decision to attend had required careful consideration of both the potential benefits and risks involved. The opportunity to meet Governor Hendricks and other political figures represented genuine professional value, as my career in campaign management depended partly on building relationships with current and potential clients. However, I also recognized that my presence at the gathering might create uncomfortable situations if guests made assumptions about my background or professional circumstances that could embarrass Catherine or reflect poorly on her family connection. The preparation for the evening had involved strategic decisions about appearance and presentation that would communicate appropriate respect for the occasion while remaining authentic to my personal style and economic circumstance. I had chosen a simple black dress that projected professionalism and elegance without appearing to compete with the more expensive clothing that other guests would likely wear. The dress had cost more than I typically spent on clothing, representing an investment in professional appearance that I hoped would prove worthwhile through the networking opportunities the evening might provide. My hair and makeup had received similar careful attention, achieving a polished appearance that would blend appropriately with the gathering's formal atmosphere. I had studied photographs from previous Whitmore family events to understand the standards of presentation that would be expected, adapting my usual casual style to meet requirements for formal social occasions. The preparation process had felt somewhat performative, requiring me to present a version of myself that emphasized certain qualities while minimizing others that might be less well received by the intended audience. The drive to the Whitmore family home had provided time for mental preparation and strategic thinking about how to navigate the complex social dynamics I would encounter. I had rehearsed conversational approaches that would allow me to discuss my work in terms that would be comprehensible and impressive to people outside political circles, emphasizing the strategic and analytical aspects of campaign management, while avoiding details that might seem too partisan or controversial for mixed company. The neighborhood itself reinforced the economic and social distinctions that would characterize the evening's interaction. Every home represented substantial wealth and careful attention to appearance, from professionally maintained landscapes to luxury vehicles that signaled their owners' financial success and social positioning. The Whitmore home stood out even within this affluent context, its Georgian architecture and expansive grounds communicating both historical prestige and contemporary prosperity. Catherine had greeted me at the door with nervous energy that suggested her awareness of the evening's importance for her own social positioning within the family. Her appearance reflected careful preparation and significant financial investment, from her designer cocktail dress to professional styling that achieved effortless elegance through expensive but subtle enhancements. She had clearly invested considerable time and resources in ensuring that her presentation would meet the high standards expected by family members and guests. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel, it means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Her initial comments had focused on introducing me to the evening's social dynamics and helping me understand the relationships and interests that would shape conversations and interaction. She had provided brief backgrounds on key guests, highlighting their professional achievements and areas of expertise that might provide opportunities for meaningful conversation. Her guidance had felt supportive and encouraging, suggesting her genuine desire for the evening to be successful for both of us. The transition from Catherine's welcoming presence to the broader social gathering had marked the beginning of the challenging dynamics that would define my experience throughout the evening. The moment I stepped into the elegant dining room, filled with beautifully dressed guests engaged in animated conversations about business deals and political developments, I became acutely aware of the assumptions and judgments that would shape how others perceived my presence and work. The laughter that had greeted my arrival alone had cut through the sophisticated ambiance like a discord in an otherwise harmonious symphony. The sound had not been malicious in intent, but it had carried unmistakable notes of amusement and superiority that communicated clear messages about social hierarchy and acceptable behavior within the group. The guests had not intended cruelty, but their reaction had revealed assumptions about success, relationships, and social positioning that made my presence feel both conspicuous and inappropriate. Margaret Whitmore's expression had shifted from polite welcome to barely concealed concern as she processed my arrival without an accompanying partner who might have provided social legitimacy and conversation balance for the evening's carefully planned dynamic. Harold's greeting had maintained professional courtesy while his eyes had surveyed my appearance and presentation with the analytical assessment of someone evaluating whether my presence would enhance or detract from the gathering's overall success and social atmosphere. The whispered comments that had followed my introduction had focused on my status as the unsuccessful sister whose career and personal life had failed to achieve the standards of accomplishment that would warrant inclusion in such distinguished company. These observations had not been intended for my hearing, but the acoustics of the elegant dining room, and the speaker's assumptions about my social invisibility had made their assessments clearly audible and unmistakably directed toward my circumstances and perceived shortcomings. The weight of their assumptions had settled over me like an uncomfortable garment that emphasized every perceived inadequacy and social misstep. Their expectations for the evening had clearly not included accommodating someone whose professional achievements and personal circumstances fell outside their established parameters for success and social acceptability. My presence had created a disruption in their carefully orchestrated social dynamics that would require management and accommodation that none of them had anticipated or welcomed. As I stood in that moment, surrounded by laughter and whispered judgments, I felt the familiar sensation of being simultaneously present and invisible, included in the gathering but excluded from the respect and consideration that other guests received automatically. The experience had activated memories of countless similar situations throughout my life, moments when my choices and circumstances had been evaluated according to standards that prioritized conventional success over personal values and meaningful contribution. Yet beneath the discomfort and social awkwardness, I had carried knowledge that none of the laughing guests possessed. The phone in my purse contained text messages from Governor Hendricks herself, confirming final details for her campaign announcement that would take place the following week. My calendar held meetings with senior political strategists, fundraising coordinators, and media specialists, who would execute the comprehensive campaign plan that I had spent the previous 6 months developing and refining through countless hours of research, analysis, and strategic planning. The contrast between their assumptions and my reality had created a tension that would define the remainder of the evening, building toward a revelation that would transform every relationship and assumption in that elegantly appointed dining room. The laughter would fade, the whispers would cease, and the social dynamics that had seemed so fixed and unchangeable would shift dramatically once truth emerged to challenge their comfortable certainties about success, worth, and the complex realities that exist beneath surface appearance. The alarm clock displayed 5:47 a.m. when Rebecca Chen's eyes opened in her modest downtown apartment, 3 minutes before the scheduled wake-up time that had become second nature through years of disciplined routine. The early morning hours represented her most productive time, when the city remained quiet and her mind operated with the clarity necessary for strategic analysis and complex problem-solving. She had learned to maximize these precious moments of solitude before the demands of client communications and campaign coordination consumed her attention and energy throughout the remainder of each day. Her apartment reflected the practical priorities that guided her lifestyle choice. The one-bedroom unit occupied the third floor of a converted warehouse building in the emerging arts district, chosen for its proximity to the state capitol building rather than neighborhood prestige or social desirability. The exposed brick walls and industrial fixtures provided character that compensated for the modest square footage and basic amenities. The space served her needs efficiently without requiring the financial investment that would have limited her ability to pursue meaningful professional opportunities that offered intellectual satisfaction rather than maximum compensation. The furnishings represented careful selections based on functionality and durability rather than aesthetic appeal or status signaling. Her desk dominated the living room, equipped with dual monitors that displayed multiple spreadsheets, communication platforms and research databases simultaneously throughout her working hours. The bookshelf contained volumes on political theory, campaign strategy, demographic analysis, and historical election studies that served as reference materials for the strategic planning that formed the foundation of her professional expertise and competitive. Her morning routine began with reviewing overnight news developments that might affect current campaign strategies or create opportunities for proactive messaging and tactical adjustment. The political landscape evolved continuously, requiring constant monitoring of media coverage, social media trends, and emerging issues that could influence voter behavior and candidate position. This daily intelligence gathering had become essential for maintaining the comprehensive awareness necessary for effective campaign management in an increasingly complex and rapidly changing information environment. The coffee maker gurgled to life as Rebecca opened her laptop and began scanning the political news aggregation sites that provided early indicators of developing stories and emerging themes. Her morning briefing process included reviewing local newspaper coverage, national political publications, social media trending topics, and specialized newsletters that provided insider perspectives on campaign developments and strategic thinking among professional political operatives. This information formed the foundation for the daily strategic assessments that she provided to current clients and potential campaign opportunities. Her professional network had developed gradually through years of volunteer work, internship experiences, and entry-level positions that had provided exposure to the complex ecosystem of political campaigns, advocacy organizations, and policy development initiatives. The relationships she had built represented genuine connections, based on shared values and mutual respect rather than transactional networking focused solely on career advancement and personal benefit. These authentic professional relationships had proven more valuable and sustainable than the superficial connections that characterized much political network. The phone displayed several text messages from campaign contacts who operated across different time zones and maintained irregular schedules that reflected the demanding nature of political work. Campaign managers, communications directors, and candidate advisors often worked through the night, responding to developing situations and coordinating rapid response strategies that required immediate attention and decisive action. Rebecca had adapted her availability and responsiveness to meet these professional demands while maintaining boundaries that protected her personal well-being and long-term sustainability. Her current client portfolio reflected the diverse range of political campaigns and advocacy initiatives that utilized her strategic planning and operational management expertise. The gubernatorial campaign represented her most significant professional opportunity, but she also provided consulting services to 3 legislative candidates, 2 municipal campaigns, and a ballot initiative organization that advocated for education funding reform. This diversified approach provided financial stability while allowing her to contribute to multiple causes that aligned with her values and professional interests. The gubernatorial campaign had begun 18 months earlier when Governor Patricia Hendricks had contacted Rebecca through a referral from a former client who had achieved an unexpected victory in a competitive congressional race. The governor had been seeking a campaign manager who understood the evolving dynamics of state politics while possessing the strategic thinking capabilities necessary for managing a complex re-election effort that would face significant opposition and scrutiny from multiple directions. Their initial meeting had taken place in the governor's private office, away from the formal protocols and media attention that surrounded most gubernatorial activity. Governor Hendricks had impressed Rebecca with her comprehensive understanding of policy details and her genuine commitment to implementing programs that would benefit working families and underserved communities. The conversation had revealed shared values and complementary skills that suggested the potential for an effective professional partnership focused on achieving meaningful political outcomes. The campaign strategy that Rebecca had developed reflected months of intensive research, demographic analysis, and strategic planning that identified key voter segments, priority messaging themes, and resource allocation decisions that would maximize the campaign's effectiveness and competitive position. The comprehensive plan addressed media strategy, grassroots organizing, fundraising coordination,
opposition research, and crisis management protocols that would enable the campaign to respond effectively to various scenarios and challenges that might emerge during the election cycle. Her role as campaign manager remained largely invisible to outside observers, including her own family members who lacked understanding of the political process and the specialized expertise required for effective campaign leadership. The nature of her work required discretion and confidence that prevented her from discussing strategy details or sharing information about campaign developments that might compromise tactical advantages or reveal sensitive information about candidate positioning and resource allocation decisions. The financial compensation for her political work provided adequate income for her modest lifestyle while falling significantly below the earnings potential that her analytical skills and strategic thinking capabilities might have generated in corporate consulting or private sector positions. She had consciously chosen meaningful work over maximum income, prioritizing opportunities to contribute to causes she supported rather than pursuing positions that would have provided greater financial rewards but limited intellectual satisfaction and values alignment. Her daily schedule typically included strategic planning sessions with senior campaign staff, coordination meetings with volunteer coordinators and field organizers, media preparation discussions with communications specialists, and analysis reviews with polling consultants and demographic researchers. These interactions required her to synthesize complex information from multiple sources while maintaining awareness of the broader political context that influenced campaign strategy and tactical decision-making process. The campaign headquarters occupied a converted retail space in a commercial district that provided easy access for volunteers and staff while maintaining the professional atmosphere necessary for sensitive strategic discussions and confidential planning sessions. Rebecca had overseen the facility setup and operational organization that enabled efficient workflow and effective coordination among the diverse team members who contributed specialized expertise to different aspects of the campaign effort. Her relationship with Governor Hendricks had evolved into a professional partnership characterized by mutual respect and shared commitment to achieving both electoral success and meaningful policy outcomes. The governor valued Rebecca's analytical approach to strategic planning and her ability to identify potential challenges before they became serious problems requiring reactive responses and crisis management. And Rebecca appreciated the governor's willingness to engage with complex policy details and her genuine interest in implementing programs that would create positive change for constituents across the state. The polling data that Rebecca reviewed each morning provided quantitative feedback on campaign messaging effectiveness and voter sentiment trends that informed tactical adjustments and strategic refinement. The numbers revealed gradual but consistent improvement in the governor's approval ratings and competitive positioning relative to potential opposition candidates who might emerge during the primary and general election cycle. These positive trends reflected the effectiveness of the comprehensive strategy that Rebecca had developed and the successful implementation of coordinated campaign activities across multiple channels and voter engagement approaches. Her personal life had necessarily adapted to the demanding schedule and irregular hours that characterized campaign work during election cycles. The intensity of political campaigns required sacrifice of social activities and personal relationships that could not accommodate the unpredictable demands and time commitments required for effective campaign management. Rebecca had accepted these trade-offs as necessary costs of pursuing meaningful professional work that provided intellectual stimulation and opportunities for positive social impact.
The contrast between her professional achievements and her apparent personal circumstances created ongoing tension in family relationships, particularly with Catherine, who struggled to understand how someone with Rebecca's intelligence and education could choose a career path that provided limited financial rewards and social recognition. Catherine's concerns reflected genuine care for her sister's well-being, but they also revealed different values and priorities that shaped their respective life choices and career development strategies. Rebecca's apartment building housed an eclectic mix of residents who pursued creative and intellectual work that prioritized personal fulfillment over conventional success metrics. Her neighbors included documentary filmmakers, nonprofit organization staff, freelance journalists, and graduate students whose diverse backgrounds and shared values created a supportive community that understood the challenges and rewards of pursuing meaningful work that often remained invisible to mainstream society. The evening routine that concluded her typical workday included reviewing the next day's schedule, responding to urgent communications that required immediate attention, and conducting research on emerging issues that might affect campaign strategy or candidate positioning. This preparation enabled her to begin each day with comprehensive awareness of relevant developments and clear priorities for addressing the most important strategic and operational challenges facing the campaign. Her weekend schedule often included attending political events, community gatherings, and networking opportunities that provided informal intelligence gathering and relationship building that contributed to her professional effectiveness and strategic awareness. These activities required careful balance between maintaining professional obligations and preserving personal time necessary for mental health and long-term sustainability in a demanding and often stressful career environment. The professional recognition that Rebecca had earned among political operatives and campaign specialists remained largely confined to insider circles that operated outside the awareness of general public attention and mainstream media coverage. Her strategic contributions to successful campaigns had built a reputation for analytical rigor and tactical effectiveness that attracted referrals and new client opportunities. But this professional success remained invisible to family members and social contacts, who measured achievement through more conventional and publicly visible markers. The gubernatorial campaign represented the culmination of years of professional development and strategic learning that had prepared Rebecca for the complex challenges and high-stakes decision-making required for managing a major statewide political effort. The opportunity to serve as campaign manager for a sitting governor provided validation of her professional capabilities, while creating potential pathways for future career advancement and expanded influence within political circles. Her expertise in demographic analysis and voter behavior prediction had been developed through extensive study of election data, polling trends, and academic research on political science and campaign effectiveness. This specialized knowledge enabled her to identify strategic opportunities and tactical approaches that less experienced campaign managers might overlook or undervalue. The competitive advantage provided by her analytical capabilities had contributed to several unexpected victories for candidates who had been considered underdogs in their respective races. The relationships Rebecca had built with media professionals, polling organizations, and political consultants provided access to information and expertise that enhanced her strategic planning capabilities and operational effectiveness. These professional networks had been cultivated through years of collaborative work and mutual assistance that created genuine partnerships rather than purely transactional connections, focused solely on immediate campaign needs and short-term tactical objectives. Her morning ritual of strategic analysis and planning had become essential for maintaining the comprehensive awareness and proactive thinking necessary for effective campaign management in an increasingly complex political environment. The daily discipline of information gathering, trend analysis, and strategic assessment enabled her to anticipate challenges and opportunities while developing tactical responses that positioned her campaigns for maximum effectiveness and competitive. Her home base reflected her practical approach to resource allocation and her commitment to living within means that preserved financial flexibility for pursuing professional opportunities that aligned with her values, rather than maximizing immediate compensation. This lifestyle approach had enabled her to accept campaign positions and consulting projects that provided intellectual satisfaction and meaningful contribution, while building the expertise and professional relationships that would support long-term career development and expanded influence. As Rebecca prepared to leave for another day of strategic planning and campaign coordination, she carried with her the quiet confidence that came from knowing her work was making a difference in the political process and contributing to outcomes that would benefit communities and individuals across the state. The recognition and respect she received from political professionals who understood the complexity and importance of her contributions provided validation that sustained her through the challenges and sacrifices required by her chosen career. The drive to the campaign headquarters would provide transition time for mental preparation and strategic thinking about the day's priorities and objectives. The early morning commute through the awakening city served as a daily reminder of the communities and constituencies that would be affected by the electoral outcomes that her professional work was designed to influence. This connection between her strategic planning and real-world impact provided the motivation and purpose that made the demanding schedule and personal sacrifices feel worthwhile and meaningful. The ordinary world that Rebecca inhabited each day was characterized by purposeful work that remained largely invisible to outside observers, including family members who measured success through different standards and priorities. Her professional achievements and strategic contributions operated behind the scenes of political campaigns and policy development processes that shaped governmental decisions and community outcomes without generating the public recognition or financial rewards that would have impressed the Whitmore family circle and their sophisticated social network. The phone call that would fundamentally alter the trajectory of Rebecca Chan's professional and personal circumstances arrived on a Tuesday morning in late September, precisely 14 days before the Whitmore family dinner party that would transform her relationship with her sister's influential in-laws. The caller identification displayed the office number for Governor Patricia Hendricks, though Rebecca immediately recognized the distinctive voice of the governor's chief of staff, Maria Santos, whose urgent tone indicated developments that would require immediate strategic attention and comprehensive response plan. "Rebecca, we need to meet within the hour," Maria announced without preliminary pleasantries, her words carrying the weight of political crisis and strategic urgency that characterized high-stakes campaign management during volatile election cycles. "The opposition research team has uncovered information that changes everything about our re-election timeline and competitive positioning. Governor Hendricks wants to discuss immediate strategic adjustments that will require comprehensive campaign restructuring and accelerated implementation of advanced tactical approaches." The gravity of Maria's communication activated Rebecca's crisis management protocols and analytical thinking processes that had been developed through years of navigating unexpected challenges and rapidly evolving political situations. The vague nature of the disclosed information suggested confidential discussion over unsecured communication channels, indicating the involvement of sensitive intelligence that could significantly impact campaign strategy and electoral prospects if mishandled or prematurely disclosed to opposition research operations. Rebecca immediately canceled her scheduled morning meetings and drove directly to the state capitol building, her mind racing through possible scenarios and strategic implications that might require fundamental reassessment of existing campaign plans and tactical approaches. The urgency of Maria's summons suggested developments that extended beyond routine opposition research discoveries, indicating potential revelations that could reshape the competitive landscape and require immediate response strategies to maintain electoral viability and strategic positioning. The governor's private conference room occupied a corner of the executive suite that provided both security and privacy for sensitive discussions that required confidential and strategic discretion. The space reflected the formal dignity of state government while maintaining the operational functionality necessary for high-level decision-making and strategic planning sessions. Rebecca had participated in numerous strategy meetings within these walls, but the atmosphere that morning carried unprecedented tension and urgency that indicated extraordinary circumstances and significant strategic challenge. Governor Hendricks appeared composed, despite the obvious stress and concern that informed her expression and body language. Her political experience included navigation of multiple crisis situations and controversial policy debates that had prepared her for managing complex challenges while maintaining public confidence and strategic effectiveness. However, the current situation clearly represented unique complications that required specialized expertise and innovative strategic thinking to address successfully without compromising long-term political objectives and electoral prospects. Better intelligence sources have confirmed that Senator Thomas Richardson will announce his gubernatorial candidacy next Monday. The governor began, her voice maintaining the measured tone that characterized her approach to delivering significant news, while preserving strategic composure and analytical clarity. Richardson brings substantial name recognition, significant fundraising capabilities, and established relationships with key constituency groups that will transform this election from a manageable re-election effort into the most competitive gubernatorial race in 2 decades. The revelation struck Rebecca with the force of strategic earthquake that would require immediate reassessment of every aspect of existing campaign planning and tactical positioning. Senator Richardson represented the most formidable potential opponent that their internal analysis had identified, possessing the political credentials, fundraising network, and media relationships necessary for mounting a serious challenge to an incumbent governor with strong approval ratings and established political infrastructure. Richardson's senatorial career had been characterized by effective bipartisan collaboration and policy achievements that had earned respect across party lines, while building name recognition and political credibility that extended far beyond his traditional constituency base. His legislative record included successful initiatives on economic development, education reform, and healthcare accessibility that had generated positive media coverage and public approval that would translate effectively into gubernatorial campaign messaging and voter appeal. The timing of Richardson's entry into the gubernatorial race represented strategic sophistication that demonstrated his campaign's comprehensive planning and tactical awareness. The announcement would occur precisely 18 months before the general election, providing sufficient time for comprehensive campaign development, while limiting the governor's ability to implement new policy initiatives or strategic positioning that might neutralize Richardson's competitive advantages and policy differentiation opportunity. Our polling analysis indicates that Richardson enters the race with 42% name recognition and 37% favorable ratings among likely voters. Maria continued, consulting detailed briefing materials that reflected extensive research and analysis conducted by the campaign's intelligence-gathering operation. His fundraising network includes major donors who have previously supported our campaign efforts, creating potential financial resource challenges that will require innovative approaches to campaign finance and strategic resource allocation. The financial implications of Richardson's candidacy represented immediate strategic concerns that would affect every aspect of campaign planning and operational implementation. Political campaigns operated within finite resource constraints that required careful allocation between competing priorities, including media advertising, grassroots organizing, polling and research, and operational infrastructure necessary for effective voter outreach and mobilization efforts. Richardson's established relationships with major political donors threatened to reduce the financial resources available to the governor's re-election campaign while simultaneously providing the opposition with substantial funding advantages that could support comprehensive media campaigns and sophisticated voter targeting operations. The competitive fundraising environment would require enhanced donor cultivation efforts and expanded financial resource development strategies that might strain existing campaign infrastructure and operational capability. The policy landscape also presents strategic challenges, Governor Hendricks observed, her analysis reflecting the comprehensive understanding of political dynamics that had characterized her successful electoral and governing career. Richardson's legislative record includes positions on education funding and economic development that align closely with our administration's achievement, limiting our ability to establish clear policy differentiation and compelling reasons for voters to maintain incumbent support rather than embracing change and new leadership. The policy convergence between the governor's record and Richardson's legislative positions represented a sophisticated challenge that would require innovative campaign messaging and strategic positioning to establish compelling distinctions that would resonate with voter preferences and decision-making criteria. Traditional campaign strategies that relied on clear policy differences and ideological distinctions would prove insufficient for addressing an opponent whose positions reflected careful calibration to mainstream voter preferences and bipartisan appeal. Rebecca's strategic analysis immediately recognized the fundamental transformation that Richardson's candidacy would impose on existing campaign planning and tactical approaches. The comfortable re-election campaign that had been developing according to established timelines and conventional strategic frameworks would require complete restructuring to address the enhanced competitive environment and sophisticated opposition that Richardson's entry would create. "We need to accelerate our entire campaign timeline by 6 months," Rebecca announced, her statement reflecting rapid,
strategic assessment, and comprehensive understanding of the operational implications that Richardson's candidacy would create. Every aspect of our existing plan must be intensified and expanded to match the competitive pressure and resource requirements that will characterize this new electoral environment. The accelerated timeline would require immediate expansion of campaign staff, enhanced fundraising operation, intensified media strategy development, and comprehensive grassroots organizing efforts that would strain existing resources while demanding innovative approaches to campaign management and operational coordination. The transformation would test every aspect of Rebecca's strategic planning capabilities and campaign management expertise, while providing unprecedented opportunities for demonstrating advanced political leadership and tactical innovation. The announcement also creates opportunities for strategic positioning that could provide competitive advantages if we respond effectively and proactively, Rebecca continued her analysis, shifting toward identifying potential benefits within the challenging circumstances that Richardson's candidacy would create. Richardson's entry validates the significance of this gubernatorial race and will generate increased media attention and public interest that could amplify our messaging and policy advocacy if we execute sophisticated communication strategies. The enhanced media attention that would accompany a competitive gubernatorial race between two respected political figures would provide expanded platforms for policy discussion and public engagement that could benefit the governor's re-election efforts if managed strategically and executed effectively. The increased visibility would require careful message development and coordinated communication planning to ensure that enhanced media coverage would reinforce rather than undermine the governor's political positioning and electoral prospects. However, the most immediate challenge involves restructuring our campaign organization to handle the intensity and complexity that this new competitive environment will require, Rebecca explained. Her assessment reflecting comprehensive understanding of the operational transformation that would be necessary for maintaining electoral competitiveness and strategic effectiveness. We need to triple our field organization, double our communications capacity, and implement advanced voter targeting and mobilization systems that can compete with Richardson's established political infrastructure and experienced campaign. The organizational expansion would require recruiting experienced campaign professionals whose expertise and capabilities would complement existing staff while providing additional specialized knowledge necessary for managing complex statewide political operations. The hiring process would compete with Richardson's simultaneous efforts to assemble his campaign team, creating talent acquisition challenges that would require innovative recruitment strategies and competitive compensation packages within limited budget constraints. Governor Hendricks nodded thoughtfully as she processed the comprehensive implications of the strategic transformation that Rebecca was outlining. Her political experience provided appreciation for the complexity and resource requirements that would characterize the enhanced campaign effort, while recognizing the opportunities that increased competition might create for demonstrating effective leadership and policy accomplishment. Rebecca, I need you to understand that this campaign will require total commitment and unprecedented personal sacrifice from everyone involved, including campaign leadership, the governor stated, her words carrying both warning and invitation that reflected the gravity of the challenges ahead. The next 18 months will test every aspect of your professional capabilities while providing opportunities for demonstrating the strategic expertise and campaign management skills that could establish your reputation as one of the premier political operatives in the region. The governor's statement represented both recognition of Rebecca's existing capabilities and acknowledgement of the professional growth opportunities that the intensified campaign would provide. Success in managing a competitive gubernatorial re-election effort would establish credentials and professional recognition that could transform Rebecca's career trajectory, while providing access to advanced political opportunities and expanded influence within strategic planning circles. The personal costs will be significant, Maria added, her observation reflecting practical understanding of the lifestyle demands and relationship sacrifices that characterized intensive political campaigns during highly competitive election cycles. Campaign management at this level requires availability and commitment that affects every aspect of personal life, including family relationships, social activities, and individual well-being, that must be subordinated to campaign objectives and strategic priorities. Rebecca's immediate response reflected both acceptance of the challenges and recognition of the extraordinary professional opportunities that the intensified campaign represented. Her career development had been building toward opportunities to demonstrate advanced strategic capabilities and campaign management expertise that could establish her reputation and create pathways for expanded influence and professional advancement within political circles. "I understand the requirements and accept the responsibility," Rebecca replied, her commitment reflecting both professional ambition and genuine belief in the governor's leadership and policy agenda that warranted the personal sacrifices necessary for electoral success. "This campaign will receive my complete dedication and the full application of every strategic capability and professional resource that I can provide." The meeting continued for 2 additional hours as the 3 women developed preliminary frameworks for the comprehensive campaign restructuring that would begin immediately and continue throughout the following weeks. The discussion addressed staffing requirements, budget allocation, line adjustments, and strategic priorities that would guide the transformation from a conventional re-election effort to an intensive competitive campaign designed to address sophisticated opposition and enhanced electoral challenge. The conversation also explored the personal implications for Rebecca's family relationships and social obligations that would inevitably be affected by the demanding schedule and total commitment that campaign management would require. The upcoming Whitmore family dinner party represented the type of personal engagement that would become impossible to maintain as campaign intensity increased and professional responsibilities consumed increasingly larger portions of her time and attention. As Rebecca drove back to her apartment that afternoon, her mind processed the enormous implications of the morning's revelations and the fundamental transformation that her professional and personal life would undergo during the following month. The quiet routine and manageable schedule that had characterized her existing circumstances would be replaced by intense pressure, public scrutiny, and strategic challenges that would test every aspect of her capabilities, while providing unprecedented opportunities for professional achievement and recognition. The inciting incident that Richardson's entry represented would force Rebecca to choose between the comfortable invisibilities that had characterized her previous campaign work and the high-visibility leadership role that managing the governor's re-election would require. The decision would affect not only her professional trajectory, but also her relationships with family members who had never fully understood or appreciated the significance of her political career and strategic expertise. The phone call had shattered the ordinary world of manageable campaign consulting and introduced extraordinary circumstances that would require unprecedented personal commitment and professional excellence. The next 18 months would determine whether Rebecca possessed the strategic vision and operational capabilities necessary for managing one of the most competitive and consequential gubernatorial campaigns in recent political history. The transformation would be immediate and comprehensive, affecting every aspect of her daily routine, professional relationships, and personal priorities, in ways that would ultimately lead to the confrontation with social assumptions and family dynamics that would unfold at the Whitmore dinner party. The inciting incident had been delivered through a simple phone call, but its implications would reshape Rebecca's entire existence and create the circumstances that would eventually reveal her true professional stature to people who had consistently underestimated her capabilities and achievement. The strategic planning session that would define the next phase of Rebecca Chen's professional evolution commenced at 7 o'clock on Wednesday morning in the governor's private conference room, where the early hour ensured complete confidentiality and freedom from interruption during sensitive discussions about campaign restructuring and competitive positioning. The overnight period had provided Governor Hendricks and her senior staff with time to process the implications of Senator Richardson's impending candidacy announcement, while developing preliminary frameworks for the comprehensive response that would be required to maintain electoral competitiveness and strategic effectiveness. Rebecca arrived at the state capitol building, carrying detailed analysis and strategic recommendations that she had developed during an intensive evening of research and planning following the previous day's crisis meeting. Her preparation included demographic study, competitive analysis frameworks, resource allocation models, and operational timelines that addressed the fundamental transformation required to convert a conventional re-election campaign into an intensive competitive effort designed to neutralize Richardson's advantages while establish compelling reasons for voter loyalty and continued gubernatorial support. The conference room atmosphere reflected the gravity and urgency of the strategic challenges that the campaign would face during the following 18 months. Governor Hendricks had assembled her most trusted advisors, experienced political professionals, to participate in developing the comprehensive response strategy that would determine whether the administration could successfully navigate the enhanced competitive environment that Richardson's candidacy would create throughout the extended election cycle. Maria Santos distributed briefing materials that contained overnight intelligence gathering results and preliminary opposition research findings that provided additional context about Richardson's campaign preparations and strategic positioning. The information revealed sophisticated planning and advanced preparation that indicated Richardson's entry had been contemplated and organized over several months, suggesting access to professional campaign expertise and financial resources that would support immediate implementation of advanced tactical approaches and comprehensive voter outreach operation. Our overnight analysis confirms that Richardson's announcement will include endorsements from 3 major labor unions and 2 prominent business organizations that have historically supported our administration, Maria reported. Her assessment reflecting the comprehensive intelligence gathering capabilities that modern political campaigns required for effective strategic planning and competitive positioning. The bipartisan appeal of his endorsement coalition demonstrates strategic sophistication that will require innovative approaches to coalition building and constituency mobilization that can compete effectively with his established political relation. The endorsement landscape represented a critical aspect of competitive positioning that would influence both fundraising capabilities and grassroots organizing effectiveness throughout the campaign cycle. Political endorsements provided validation and credibility that facilitated voter persuasion while providing access to organizational resources and volunteer networks that could substantially enhance campaign operational capacity and voter contact capability. Governor Hendricks reviewed the intelligence materials with the analytical focus that had characterized her approach to complex policy development and strategic decision-making throughout her political career. Her experience in navigating competitive elections and controversial policy initiatives had developed comprehensive understanding of the relationship between strategic planning and tactical execution that would prove essential for managing the enhanced campaign effort successfully. Rebecca, your preliminary analysis identifies the strategic opportunities that this competitive environment creates, alongside the obvious challenges, the governor observed, acknowledging the balanced perspective that characterized effective campaign management and strategic thinking. However, I need to understand whether you are prepared to accept the leadership responsibility that managing this campaign will require, including the personal sacrifices and professional risks that accompany high-visibility political positions during intensely competitive election cycles.
The governor's inquiry represented both professional evaluation and personal consideration for Rebecca's career development and individual well-being. Campaign management at the gubernatorial level involved public scrutiny and professional accountability that extended far beyond the behind-the-scenes strategic work that had characterized Rebecca's previous political experience. Success would establish her reputation and create opportunities for expanded influence, while failure would generate professional consequences that could affect future career prospects and industry relationships. Rebecca recognized that the governor's question represented the formal invitation to accept the most significant professional challenge of her career, an opportunity that would require unprecedented personal commitment while providing access to strategic responsibilities and decision-making authority that she had been developing the expertise to handle throughout her political career. The choice would fundamentally alter her professional trajectory while testing every aspect of her strategic capabilities and campaign management skills. Governor Hendricks, I have spent my entire career preparing for exactly this type of challenge. Rebecca responded, her statement reflecting both professional confidence and realistic assessment of the requirements and opportunities that campaign leadership would present. My strategic expertise, operational experience, and commitment to your administration's policy agenda provide the foundation for managing this campaign effectively while delivering the electoral success that your continued gubernatorial leadership requires. The formal acceptance represented more than professional ambition or career advancement opportunity. Rebecca's decision reflected genuine belief in the governor's policy agenda and leadership capabilities that justified the personal sacrifices and professional risks that campaign management would require. The choice aligned her professional development with meaningful contribution to political outcomes that would affect communities and constituencies across the state. The financial compensation for this position will reflect the enhanced responsibilities and professional demands that campaign leadership requires. The governor continued addressing practical considerations that would enable Rebecca to maintain financial stability while dedicating complete attention to campaign management without supplementary consulting work or part-time client responsibilities that might compromise strategic focus and operational effectiveness. The salary adjustment would provide Rebecca with economic security that had been absent from her previous campaign consulting work, where project-based compensation and irregular income had required careful financial management and lifestyle limitations that had contributed to family perceptions about her professional success and career trajectory. The enhanced compensation reflected both the increased responsibilities and the governor's recognition of Rebecca's professional value and strategic capabilities. However, the most significant aspect of this opportunity involves the platform for demonstrating advanced strategic expertise, campaign management capabilities that could establish your reputation within political circles and create pathways for future leadership positions that extend far beyond this single campaign effort. Maria added, her observation addressing the long-term career implications that successful campaign management would provide for Rebecca's professional development and industry recognition. The strategic visibility that gubernatorial campaign management would generate represented unprecedented professional exposure that could transform Rebecca's career trajectory and industry position. Success would establish credentials and recognition that would attract future opportunities for managing major political campaigns, consulting with high-profile candidates, and participating in strategic planning for significant policy initiatives and political movement. The discussion continued with detailed exploration of the operational transformation that would be required to implement the enhanced campaign strategy effectively. The conversation addressed staffing expansion requirements, budget allocation frameworks, communication strategy development, and grassroots organizing approaches that would enable the campaign to compete successfully with Richardson's established political infrastructure and experienced professional team. The field organization expansion represents our most immediate priority, Rebecca explained, outlining the comprehensive voter contact and mobilization strategy that would be necessary for maintaining competitive positioning throughout the extended campaign cycle. We need to establish permanent campaign offices in 12 additional counties, while tripling our volunteer coordinator capacity and implementing advanced voter targeting systems that can identify and prioritize outreach efforts according to demographic analysis and behavioral prediction model. The grassroots organizing expansion would require recruiting experienced field coordinators whose expertise in community organizing and voter mobilization would complement existing campaign infrastructure, while providing specialized knowledge necessary for managing complex statewide operations. The hiring process would compete directly with Richardson's simultaneous efforts to assemble his campaign team, creating recruitment challenges that would require innovative approaches and competitive compensation packages within budget constraints. The communication strategy must address both traditional media relationships and digital platform engagement that reaches diverse constituency groups through multiple channels and messaging approaches. Rebecca continued, her analysis reflecting comprehensive understanding of modern campaign communication requirements and audience engagement strategy. We need to develop content creation capabilities, social media management systems, and rapid response protocols that can address opposition messaging while maintaining proactive narrative control and strategic message discipline. The communication strategy development would require collaboration with professional media consultants and digital marketing specialists, whose expertise in political messaging and audience engagement would enhance the campaign's ability to reach voters effectively while countering opposition narratives and maintaining strategic message consistency across multiple platforms and communication channels. Governor Hendricks approved each aspect of Rebecca's strategic framework, while providing additional context about political relationships and policy priorities that would influence campaign messaging and coalition-building efforts. The collaborative planning process demonstrated the professional partnership and mutual respect that would characterize their working relationship throughout the intensive campaign period ahead. The timeline acceleration requires immediate implementation of advanced campaign activities that would typically be scheduled for 6 months later in the election cycle. Rebecca observed, acknowledging the compressed preparation period that Richardson's early entry had created for strategic positioning and operational development. Every aspect of our planning must be intensified and expedited to match the competitive pressure and resource requirements that will characterize this enhanced electoral environment. The accelerated timeline would test every aspect of the campaign organization's operational capabilities, while requiring innovative approaches to strategic planning and tactical execution that could maintain effectiveness despite reduced preparation time and compressed development schedule. The challenge would demonstrate whether Rebecca possessed the strategic vision and operational excellence necessary for managing complex political campaigns under pressure. The meeting concluded with formal designation of Rebecca as campaign manager for Governor Hendricks' re-election effort, accompanied by detailed discussion of immediate priorities and strategic objectives that would guide campaign development during the critical weeks following Richardson's announcement. The appointment represented both recognition of Rebecca's professional capabilities and confidence in her strategic expertise and leadership potential. The transition from strategic consultant to campaign manager would require immediate adjustment to enhanced responsibilities and decision-making authority that would affect every aspect of campaign operations and strategic position. Rebecca would assume direct accountability for campaign success, while managing diverse professional teams and coordinating complex operational activities under intense public scrutiny and competitive pressure. The first week in her new role would involve comprehensive staff meetings, strategy briefings, and operational planning sessions that would establish the foundation for the intensive campaign effort ahead. The rapid transition would require immediate demonstration of leadership capabilities and strategic thinking that could inspire confidence among campaign staff, while establishing effective working relationships with diverse political professionals and organizational partners. Rebecca, this opportunity represents the culmination of your professional development and the beginning of a new phase in your political career. Governor Hendricks stated as the planning session concluded, her words acknowledging both the significance of the appointment and the potential for future advancement that successful campaign management would create. The next 18 months will challenge every aspect of your capabilities while providing unprecedented opportunities for demonstrating the strategic expertise and campaign leadership that could establish your reputation as one of the premier political operatives in the region. The governor's statement reflected both professional recognition and personal confidence in Rebecca's ability to manage the complex challenges and strategic opportunities that the enhanced campaign would present. The appointment represented validation of years of professional development and strategic learning, while creating pathways for expanded influence and career advancement within political circles. As Rebecca left the state capitol building that morning, she carried with her the formal authority and professional responsibility for managing one of the most competitive and consequential gubernatorial campaigns in recent political history. The ordinary world of manageable consulting projects and behind-the-scenes strategic work had been permanently transformed into high-visibility leadership responsibilities that would test her professional capabilities while providing opportunities for demonstrating advanced expertise and strategic innovation. The call to adventure had been formally accepted, and the transformation from strategic consultant to campaign manager would require immediate adaptation to enhanced pressures and expanded responsibilities that would affect every aspect of her professional and personal life. The decision represented both culmination of her career preparation and beginning of unprecedented challenges that would ultimately lead to recognition of her professional achievements by people who had consistently underestimated her capabilities and contribution. The enhanced role would require sacrifice of personal time and social obligations that had provided balance and perspective during her previous campaign consulting work. The demanding schedule and total commitment necessary for effective campaign management would affect family relationships, social activities in ways that would create tension and misunderstanding among people who lacked appreciation for the significance and complexity of her professional responsibility. However, the opportunity to demonstrate advanced strategic capabilities and campaign management expertise represented the professional validation and career advancement that Rebecca had been working toward throughout her political career. The chance to lead a major statewide campaign would establish credentials and industry recognition that could transform her future opportunities, while providing the platform for contributing to meaningful political outcomes and policy implementation. The adventure that lay ahead would test every aspect of her strategic thinking, operational expertise, and leadership capabilities, while providing unprecedented opportunities for professional growth and industry recognition. The journey would be demanding and occasionally overwhelming, but it represented the logical progression of her career development and the fulfillment of her professional aspirations within the political arena where she had chosen to make her contribution and build her legacy. The weight of accepting the campaign manager position settled upon Rebecca Chin during the solitary drive back to her apartment, as the magnitude of professional transformation and personal sacrifice required for successful gubernatorial campaign leadership became increasingly apparent through careful analysis of the commitment she had just undertaken. The initial excitement and professional validation that had characterized her immediate response to Governor Hendrick's offer gradually gave way to comprehensive assessment of the risks, challenges, and lifestyle changes that would accompany the most demanding role of her political career. Rebecca spent the remainder of Wednesday afternoon reviewing her existing client obligations and personal commitment, attempting to quantify the extent of disruption that campaign management would impose upon the carefully balanced professional and personal structure she had developed over several years of strategic consulting work. The analysis revealed complex interconnections between current projects, ongoing relationships, and future opportunities that would require difficult decisions about priority allocation and resource commitment during the intensive campaign period ahead. Her current consulting portfolio included 3 legislative candidates whose campaigns had reached critical phases, requiring sustained strategic attention and operational support throughout the approaching election cycle. These relationships had been cultivated through months of collaborative planning and represented both professional obligations and personal commitment to candidates whose policy positions and electoral success aligned with her values and political objectives. Abandoning these campaigns would compromise her professional reputation while potentially affecting electoral outcomes for candidates who depended upon her strategic expertise and campaign management capability. The financial implications of transitioning from diversified consulting work to exclusive campaign management presented additional considerations that required careful evaluation of economic security and long-term financial planning. Her consulting practice had provided steady income through multiple revenue streams that reduced risk and maintained flexibility for pursuing opportunities that offered intellectual satisfaction rather than maximum compensation. The campaign manager salary represented enhanced immediate income, but eliminated the diversified approach that had provided financial stability during uncertain political and economic conditions. The personal relationships that would be affected by intensive campaign management extended beyond professional obligations to include family connections,
social activities, and individual well-being practices that had provided balance and perspective during demanding political work. Rebecca recognized that accepting complete responsibility for gubernatorial campaign success would require sacrifice of personal time and social engagement that had been essential for maintaining mental health and emotional stability throughout her career in high-pressure political environments. The evening hours that Rebecca typically devoted to reading, exercise, and informal social interaction would be consumed by campaign strategy development, crisis management, and operational coordination that would extend far beyond conventional working hours throughout the 18-month election cycle. The demanding schedule would affect her ability to maintain relationships with friends outside political circles, participate in community activities that provided personal fulfillment, and pursue individual interests that contributed to intellectual growth and creative expression. Thursday morning brought additional perspective as Rebecca contemplated the public scrutiny and professional accountability that would accompany high-visibility campaign leadership during a competitive gubernatorial election. Her previous strategic work had been conducted behind the scenes, with limited media attention and public exposure, allowing her to focus on analytical thinking and operational planning without concerns about public perception or media criticism that could affect campaign effectiveness and personal reputation. Campaign management at the gubernatorial level would require regular interaction with media representatives, public appearances at campaign events, and strategic decision-making that would be subject to analysis and criticism from political opponents, media commentators, and public observers who lacked comprehensive understanding of the complex factors that influenced campaign strategy and tactical approach. The visibility would provide professional recognition, but would also expose her to criticism and scrutiny that could affect both campaign success and future career opportunities. The phone conversation with her sister Catherine on Thursday evening revealed additional dimensions of resistance, concern about accepting the enhanced campaign responsibilities that would affect family relationships and social obligations during the critical period leading up to the Whitmore dinner party and throughout the subsequent campaign cycle. Catherine's reaction reflected both support for Rebecca's professional advancement and apprehension about the personal costs that intensive campaign work would impose upon their relationship and family dynamics. Rebecca, I understand this represents an incredible professional opportunity, but I am concerned about the timing and intensity of the commitment you are considering, Catherine observed, her voice carrying the careful balance between encouragement and caution that characterized her approach to providing sisterly advice during significant life decisions. The campaign management role will require complete dedication during a period when our family relationships and social connections could benefit from your increased availability and engagement with the Whitmore family network. Catherine's perspective reflected genuine concern for Rebecca's well-being alongside practical considerations about family harmony and social positioning that would be affected by Rebecca's reduced availability for family events and social gatherings that provided opportunities for relationship building and mutual support. The upcoming dinner party represented one example of the social obligations that would become increasingly difficult to maintain as campaign intensity increased and professional responsibilities consumed larger portions of Rebecca's time and attention. The Whitmore family gatherings provide opportunities for professional networking and relationship development that could benefit your long-term career prospects, Catherine continued, her analysis reflecting the strategic thinking about social positioning and professional advancement that had guided her own successful integration into the influential family network. Harold and Margaret have connections throughout the political and business community that could create opportunities for future consulting work and career advancement that might prove more valuable than intensive campaign management experience. The suggestion that Rebecca should prioritize social networking and family relationship cultivation over professional campaign leadership, revealed fundamental differences in their approaches to career development and strategic position. Catherine's perspective emphasized the importance of maintaining broad professional relationships and social connections that could provide opportunities across multiple sectors, while Rebecca had focused on developing specialized expertise and demonstrated capabilities within political campaign management and strategic consulting. The internal dialogue that occupied Rebecca's thoughts during the days following her initial acceptance of the campaign manager position reflected the natural human tendency to question significant decisions and evaluate alternative approaches that might provide professional advancement with reduced personal sacrifice and risk exposure. The comfortable pattern of consulting work and manageable professional obligations offered security and flexibility that contrasted sharply with the demanding schedule and complete commitment that gubernatorial campaign management would require. Her Friday morning routine included reviewing detailed analysis of Senator Richardson's political background, legislative accomplishments, and previous campaign strategies that would inform competitive positioning and tactical approaches throughout the election cycle. The research confirmed the sophisticated challenge that Richardson's candidacy would present, requiring innovative strategic thinking and comprehensive campaign operations that would test every aspect of her professional capabilities, while providing limited margin for error or strategic miscalculation. Richardson's senatorial record included bipartisan legislation on economic development initiatives that had attracted support from business organizations and labor unions, creating a broad coalition that would provide substantial fundraising capabilities and grassroots organizing resources for his gubernatorial campaign. His policy positions reflected careful calibration to mainstream voter preferences, while maintaining credibility with partisan supporters, demonstrating the strategic sophistication that would characterize his campaign approach and competitive tactics. The opposition research also revealed Richardson's previous campaign management team, which included experienced political professionals whose expertise in statewide campaigns and media strategy would provide significant competitive advantages during the gubernatorial election cycle. The quality of his anticipated campaign organization suggested that Rebecca would be competing against some of the most skilled political operatives in the region, requiring exceptional strategic innovation and operational excellence to maintain competitive positioning and electoral viability. Rebecca's weekend was spent in careful consideration, alternative approaches to her career development that might provide professional growth and recognition, while maintaining the lifestyle balance and personal relationships that had sustained her through previous political campaigns. Strategic consulting work. The analysis included exploration of consulting opportunities with established political firms, academic positions that would utilize her campaign expertise for research and teaching, and nonprofit leadership roles that would apply her strategic skills to advocacy and policy development initiatives. The consulting firm opportunities offered enhanced compensation and professional prestige, while providing exposure to diverse political campaigns and strategic challenges that could broaden her expertise and industry relations. Several prominent firms had expressed interest in recruiting her based on her reputation for analytical rigor and strategic thinking, offering positions that would provide financial security and career advancement without the intensive demands and personal sacrifice that gubernatorial campaign management would require. Academic opportunities included potential positions at universities, where her practical campaign experience could inform research and teaching about political strategy, electoral dynamics, and campaign management techniques. These roles would provide intellectual stimulation and professional recognition, while offering schedule flexibility and work-life balance that would accommodate family relationships and personal interests that intensive campaign work would necessarily compromise. The nonprofit sector presented opportunities for applying her strategic expertise to advocacy campaigns and policy development initiatives that aligned with her values, while providing meaningful contribution to social causes and community development efforts. These positions typically offered modest compensation, but provided mission-driven work and collaborative environments that could prove more satisfying than the competitive pressure and public scrutiny associated with electoral campaign management. Rebecca's sister Catherine called again on Sunday evening to discuss the upcoming family dinner party and Rebecca's availability for participating in the social and professional networking opportunities that the gathering would provide. The conversation highlighted the immediate conflict between campaign responsibilities and family obligations that would characterize the following months if Rebecca proceeded with accepting the demanding campaign manager position. The dinner party will include several influential people who could provide valuable connections for your consulting practice, Catherine explained. Her emphasis on networking opportunities, reflecting her understanding of career development through social relationship cultivation and strategic positioning within influential circles. Governor Hendricks will be attending, along with several business leaders and political figures who could become clients or professional references for future opportunities. The irony of Catherine's invitation was not lost on Rebecca, who recognized that her professional relationship with Governor Hendricks represented precisely the type of career achievement that would impress the Whitmore family network, despite their apparent lack of awareness about her current strategic consulting work and political expertise. The dinner party could provide an opportunity for demonstrating her professional capabilities and industry relationships while maintaining family harmony and social obligations. However, accepting the campaign manager position would likely prevent her from attending social gatherings and events that required predictable scheduling and leisure time that would become unavailable as campaign intensity increased and strategic demands required constant availability and rapid response capability. The choice between professional advancement and family relationship maintenance represented one of many difficult decisions that campaign leadership would impose throughout the election cycle. The resistance Rebecca felt toward accepting complete campaign responsibility reflected both rational assessment of the challenges involved and emotional attachment to the lifestyle balance and professional flexibility that had characterized her previous consulting work. The uncertainty about her ability to manage the complex demands of gubernatorial campaign leadership while maintaining personal well-being and professional well-being and professional well-being and professional well-being and professional well-being and professional. Monday morning brought additional pressure as media reports confirmed rumors about Senator Richardson's impending gubernatorial announcement, creating immediate urgency for strategic response and campaign preparation that would require decisive action regardless of Rebecca's internal uncertainty about accepting the campaign manager position. The political timeline would not accommodate extended deliberation or gradual transition approaches that might have allowed for careful evaluation of alternative strategies and reduced personal risk exposure. The conversation with Governor Hendricks on Monday afternoon addressed Rebecca's hesitation directly, while providing additional context about the strategic importance of immediate campaign leadership and the professional recognition that successful management of the competitive gubernatorial race would provide for her future career development and industry positioning. I understand your concerns about the personal sacrifice and professional risks that campaign management involves, the governor acknowledged. Her statement reflecting both appreciation for Rebecca's careful deliberation and awareness of the urgent timeline that political circumstances had created for strategic decision-making. However, I believe this opportunity represents the culmination of your professional preparation and the platform for demonstrating expertise that could establish your reputation and create opportunities that extend far beyond this single campaign effort. The governor's assessment proved persuasive, not through pressure or manipulation, but through recognition of the professional development trajectory that had been building throughout Rebecca's career toward exactly this type of leadership, opportunity, and strategic challenge.
The resistance she felt represented natural caution and realistic assessment of difficulties ahead, but it also reflected fear of failure and uncertainty about her capabilities that could prevent her from pursuing the professional advancement she had been working toward throughout her political career. The final factor that influenced Rebecca's decision involved recognition that refusing campaign manager position would likely end her professional relationship with Governor Hendricks, while limiting future opportunities for high-level political work that required the type of strategic expertise and campaign management capabilities she had been developing. The choice represented a critical juncture that would determine whether her career would continue progressing toward greater responsibility and recognition, or settle into comfortable but limited consulting work that provided security without significant advancement potential. The unexpected arrival of Eleanor Vasquez on Tuesday morning fundamentally altered Rebecca Chen's perspective regarding the gubernatorial campaign management opportunity and her capacity for navigating the complex, strategic challenges that would characterize the following 18 months of intensive political competition. Eleanor represented a legendary figure within political circles, having managed successful campaigns for governors, senators, and congressional representatives across multiple states during a distinguished career that spanned 4 decades of electoral politics and strategic innovation. Eleanor's reputation within the campaign management profession rested upon her exceptional ability to identify strategic opportunities within challenging competitive environments, while developing innovative tactical approaches that consistently delivered electoral success for candidates facing sophisticated opposition and limited resources. Her expertise encompassed comprehensive understanding of voter behavior, media strategy, fundraising coordination, and grassroots organizing that had established her as one of the most respected political strategists in the nation. The introduction occurred through Governor Hendricks, who had maintained professional relationships with political operatives and strategic consultants throughout her career in state government and electoral politics. Eleanor had served as a strategic advisor during the governor's initial gubernatorial campaign, providing expertise in message development and competitive positioning that had contributed to the successful election outcome that established the current administration and its policy agenda. Rebecca, I have asked Eleanor to meet with you because her experience managing competitive gubernatorial campaigns provides perspectives that could prove invaluable for understanding the strategic opportunities and operational challenges that the Richardson candidacy will create. Governor Hendricks explained during the introduction meeting in her private conference room. Eleanor has successfully navigated political environments that closely parallel the circumstances we will face during the following month. Eleanor's appearance reflected the professional composure and strategic intelligence that had characterized her approach to high-stakes political campaigns throughout her distinguished career. Her manner conveyed both analytical rigor and practical wisdom that resulted from decades of strategic decision-making under pressure while managing complex campaign operations and diverse professional teams during competitive election cycles. The initial conversation addressed Rebecca's background and experience within political consulting and campaign management, allowing Eleanor to assess her strategic capabilities and operational expertise while understanding the specific concerns and hesitations that had influenced her resistance to accepting complete responsibility for gubernatorial campaign leadership. Eleanor's questioning technique revealed her comprehensive understanding of campaign management challenges, while demonstrating genuine interest in Rebecca's professional development and career advancement. Campaign management at the gubernatorial level requires strategic thinking that extends beyond tactical execution to encompass comprehensive understanding of political dynamics, media relationships, and coalition building that determines electoral success. Eleanor observed during their discussion. However, the most critical capability involves maintaining strategic perspective and decisive leadership during crisis situations, when rapid decision-making, under pressure, determines campaign viability and electoral outcomes. Eleanor's assessment reflected her recognition that Rebecca possessed the analytical capabilities and strategic expertise necessary for effective campaign management, while identifying areas where additional guidance and mentorship could enhance her ability to navigate the complex challenges that competitive gubernatorial campaigns present to political professionals. The conversation explored specific examples of strategic decision-making and crisis management that had characterized Eleanor's previous campaign experience. The Richardson candidacy represents precisely the type of sophisticated political challenge that provides opportunities for demonstrating advanced strategic capabilities while building professional reputation and industry recognition. Eleanor continued her analysis, addressing both the immediate challenges and long-term career implications that gubernatorial campaign management would create for Rebecca's professional development. Success in managing this campaign will establish credentials and expertise that could transform your career trajectory within political circles. The discussion moved towards specific strategic frameworks and operational approaches that Eleanor had employed during previous competitive gubernatorial campaigns, providing Rebecca with practical guidance for addressing the enhanced demands and complex decision-making requirements that campaign leadership would impose throughout the election cycle. Eleanor's insights encompassed both tactical considerations and strategic thinking that addressed the comprehensive planning necessary for maintaining competitive positioning against sophisticated opposition. The key to successful campaign management involves developing comprehensive strategic frameworks while maintaining flexibility for tactical adjustments that respond to changing circumstances and emerging opportunities. Eleanor explained her guidance reflecting decades of experience in adapting campaign strategies to address unexpected developments and competitive challenges. Effective campaign leaders combine analytical rigor with intuitive decision-making that enables rapid response to crisis situations, while maintaining strategic coherence and message discipline. Eleanor's mentorship approach emphasized building confidence in Rebecca's existing capabilities, while providing additional perspective and strategic thinking that could enhance her effectiveness in managing the complex operational and strategic demands of gubernatorial campaign leadership. The guidance addressed both practical considerations about campaign organization and philosophical approaches to political leadership that would sustain Rebecca through challenging periods and difficult decision-making requirements. The personal sacrifices required for intensive campaign management represent necessary investments in professional development that create opportunities for expanded influence and meaningful contribution to political outcomes. Eleanor observed addressing Rebecca's concerns about lifestyle changes and relationship impacts that would accompany campaign leadership responsibility. However, the most successful campaign managers develop sustainable approaches that maintain personal well-being while meeting professional obligations and strategic requirements. The conversation explored strategies for managing work-life balance during intensive campaign periods, including approaches to delegation, time management, and stress reduction that Eleanor had developed through her extensive experience in high-pressure political environments. Her guidance provided practical frameworks for maintaining effectiveness while preserving personal relationships and individual well-being that would be essential for sustained performance throughout the demanding election cycle. Eleanor's perspective on family relationships and social obligations reflected her understanding of the complex dynamics that campaign management created within personal networks and professional relationships. Her advice addressed approaches for maintaining important connections while managing the demanding schedule and intensive focus that gubernatorial campaign leadership would require throughout the following month. Family members who lack understanding of political campaign demands often interpret professional dedication as personal rejection or misplaced priorities. Eleanor explained her insight reflecting years of experience in managing the intersection between campaign responsibilities and personal relationships. Effective communication about professional obligations and strategic importance of campaign work can help maintain family harmony while establishing appropriate boundaries and expectations. The discussion addressed specific strategies for managing the upcoming Whitmore family dinner party and similar social obligations that would create conflicts between campaign responsibilities and family expectations. Eleanor's guidance emphasized the importance of strategic communication about professional priorities while maintaining respect for family relationships and social connections that provided personal support and long-term stability. The dinner party situation represents an opportunity for demonstrating your professional capabilities and expertise to family members who may have underestimated your achievements and strategic importance. Eleanor suggested her perspective reflecting strategic thinking about relationship management and professional positioning that could benefit both campaign effectiveness and family dynamics. Governor Hendricks's attendance provides a natural platform for showcasing your role and responsibilities within her administration and campaign organization. Eleanor's strategic assessment of the family gathering highlighted opportunities for transforming perceptions about Rebecca's professional status while maintaining appropriate discretion about campaign strategy and confidential information that required protection from public disclosure. The approach would demonstrate respect for family relationships while establishing professional credibility and recognition that could improve long-term family dynamics and social position. The mentorship conversation expanded to address broader questions about career development and professional advancement within political consulting and campaign management sectors. Eleanor's guidance provided perspective on industry trends, emerging opportunities, and strategic approaches for building sustainable consulting practices that could provide both financial security and meaningful contribution to political outcomes and policy development. The political consulting profession requires continuous learning and adaptation to evolving campaign technologies, media landscapes, and voter behavior patterns. Eleanor explained her assessment, addressing the dynamic nature of political work and the importance of maintaining current expertise while developing specialized capabilities that differentiate professional offerings. Successful consultants combine deep experience with innovative thinking that enables clients to achieve competitive advantages and electoral success. Eleanor's career trajectory provided a model for long-term professional development within political consulting, while demonstrating the opportunities for expanded influence and meaningful contribution that successful campaign management could create. Her experience included transitions between campaign management, strategic consulting, and advisory roles that had provided diverse perspectives and comprehensive expertise throughout her distinguished career. The gubernatorial campaign management opportunity represents a critical juncture in your professional development that could establish the foundation for expanded career options and industry recognition. Eleanor observed assessment, emphasizing the strategic importance of accepting challenging assignments that demonstrate capabilities and build professional reputation. However, success requires complete commitment and strategic focus that may demand temporary sacrifice of other priorities and obligations. The conversation addressed specific approaches for managing the operational complexity and strategic demands that gubernatorial campaign leadership would impose, while maintaining effectiveness and professional performance throughout the intensive election cycle. Eleanor's guidance included frameworks for delegation, team building, and strategic planning that could enhance Rebecca's ability to manage diverse responsibilities while maintaining strategic coherence and tactical flexibility. Eleanor's mentorship extended to practical considerations about campaign staff management, vendor relationships, and strategic coordination with political organizations and advocacy groups that would contribute to campaign effectiveness and electoral success. Her expertise provided comprehensive understanding of the political ecosystem and operational requirements that would determine campaign viability and competitive positioning throughout the election cycle. Effective campaign management requires building collaborative relationships with diverse political professionals while maintaining clear authority and strategic direction that enables coordinated action and consistent messaging. Eleanor explained her guidance addressing the leadership challenges and interpersonal dynamics that would characterize Rebecca's interactions with campaign staff, political consultants, and organizational partners throughout the election cycle. The discussion concluded with Eleanor's strong endorsement of Rebecca's capabilities and potential for successful gubernatorial campaign management, accompanied by her commitment to providing ongoing strategic consultation and professional support throughout the challenging months ahead. Eleanor's confidence in Rebecca's abilities provided the external validation and professional encouragement that had been absent from her internal deliberations about accepting campaign leadership responsibility. Rebecca, your analytical capabilities, strategic expertise, and commitment to effective governance provide the foundation for managing this campaign successfully while building the professional reputation and industry recognition that could transform your career trajectory. Eleanor stated her assessment, reflecting comprehensive evaluation of Rebecca's qualifications and potential for success in gubernatorial campaign leadership. The opportunity before you represents the culmination of your professional preparation and the beginning of expanded influence within political circles. Eleanor's mentorship had addressed both the practical considerations and psychological barriers that had influenced Rebecca's hesitation about accepting complete responsibility for gubernatorial campaign management.
Her guidance provided strategic frameworks and confidence-building perspectives that enabled Rebecca to envision successful navigation of the challenges ahead, while recognizing the professional advancement opportunities that campaign leadership would create. The meeting with Eleanor fundamentally shifted Rebecca's perspective from focusing on potential risks and sacrifices to recognizing the strategic opportunities and career advancement potential that gubernatorial campaign management represent. The mentor's confidence in her capabilities provided external validation that complemented her own strategic assessment, while offering practical guidance for managing the complex demands and operational challenges that lay ahead. Eleanor's commitment to providing ongoing consultation and strategic support throughout the campaign period ensured that Rebecca would have access to experienced guidance and professional perspective during critical decision-making situations and challenging operational periods. The mentorship relationship provided both practical assistance and psychological support that would prove essential for maintaining effectiveness and confidence throughout the demanding election cycle. The transformation in Rebecca's thinking that resulted from Eleanor's mentorship enabled her to move beyond defensive analysis of potential problems toward strategic planning for success and professional advancement. The conversation had provided the external perspective and experienced guidance necessary for recognizing that her hesitation reflected normal caution rather than legitimate concerns about her capabilities or the wisdom of accepting challenging professional opportunities. Eleanor's departure from the meeting left Rebecca with renewed confidence in her strategic abilities and clear understanding of the professional development opportunities that gubernatorial campaign management would provide for her career advancement and industry recognition. The mentorship had supplied the missing element of experienced guidance and strategic perspective that enabled her to move forward with complete commitment to campaign leadership and electoral success. The decisive moment arrived on Wednesday morning when Rebecca Chen walked into the governor's conference room with a comprehensive strategic plan that represented her complete commitment to managing the most challenging gubernatorial campaign of her professional career. The transformation from hesitant consultant to confident campaign leader had crystallized overnight following her mentorship session with Eleanor Vasquez, resulting in strategic clarity and operational focus that would guide every decision throughout the intensive 18-month election cycle ahead. The strategic document that Rebecca presented reflected 48 hours of intensive planning and analysis that had synthesized her campaign management expertise with Eleanor's guidance and Governor Hendricks's policy priorities into a comprehensive framework for competitive positioning and electoral success. The plan addressed every aspect of campaign operations, from grassroots organizing to media strategy, demonstrating the analytical rigor and strategic thinking that had distinguished her previous consulting work while establishing the foundation for managing complex statewide political operations. Governor Hendricks reviewed the strategic framework with evident approval and professional satisfaction, recognizing the comprehensive approach and tactical sophistication that would be necessary for maintaining competitive advantages against Senator Richardson's anticipated campaign organization and strategic position. The document demonstrated Rebecca's complete understanding of the political landscape and operational requirements, while providing specific timelines and resource allocation frameworks that would enable immediate implementation of enhanced campaign. This strategic plan reflects exactly the type of comprehensive thinking and operational excellence that will be required for managing this campaign successfully. Governor Hendricks observed her assessment, acknowledging both the quality of the strategic framework and Rebecca's professional readiness for accepting complete campaign leadership responsibility. Your analysis addresses the competitive challenges we will face while identifying opportunities for strategic positioning that could provide decisive advantages throughout the election cycle. The formal announcement of Rebecca's appointment as campaign manager occurred during a private staff meeting that included senior administration officials and key political advisors who would coordinate their activities with campaign operations throughout the election period. The announcement represented both recognition of Rebecca's strategic capabilities and confidence in her ability to manage the complex coordination requirements that would characterize interactions between campaign activities and gubernatorial administrative responsibilities. Maria coordinated the transition process that would establish Rebecca's authority and operational control over all campaign activities, while maintaining appropriate separation between administrative functions and electoral operations that legal requirements and ethical standards demanded throughout the campaign period. The organizational structure reflected professional political practices, while providing Rebecca with comprehensive decision-making authority and strategic responsibility for achieving electoral success. The first official act of Rebecca's campaign leadership involved establishing headquarters operations in a downtown location that would provide adequate space for expanded staff operations, while maintaining professional appearance and accessibility for volunteers, donors, and media representatives, who would require regular access throughout the campaign period. The facility selection reflected strategic thinking about operational efficiency and public presentation that would support both internal coordination and external relationship management during the intensive months ahead. Rebecca's initial staff recruitment focused on experienced political professionals whose expertise in specialized campaign functions would complement her strategic leadership, while providing operational capabilities necessary for managing complex statewide political operations. The hiring process required rapid evaluation of professional qualifications and strategic thinking abilities, while competing with Senator Richardson's simultaneous efforts to assemble his campaign organization from the same pool of available political talent and expertise. The communications director position attracted applications from several experienced media professionals whose backgrounds included previous gubernatorial campaigns and sophisticated understanding of statewide political messaging and media relationship management. Rebecca's selection process emphasized strategic thinking capabilities and creative problem-solving skills, alongside technical expertise in digital media and traditional communication channels that would be essential for maintaining competitive positioning in the evolving media landscape. Field operations coordinator role required extensive experience in grassroots organizing and voter mobilization strategies that could coordinate activities across multiple counties, while maintaining message's consistency and tactical coherence throughout diverse geographic and demographic environments. The successful candidate brought expertise in volunteer management and community organizing that would enable rapid expansion of voter contact operations and coalition-building activities necessary for competitive electoral positioning. The fundraising coordinator position demanded professional relationships with major donors and fundraising organizations, alongside strategic understanding of campaign finance regulations and reporting requirements that would ensure compliance, while maximizing resource development capability. Rebecca's selection emphasized proven track record in political fundraising and innovative approaches to donor cultivation that could compete effectively with Richardson's established financial networks and proven fundraising capability. The research and analytics specialist role required advanced expertise in polling data analysis and demographic research that would inform strategic decision-making and tactical adjustments throughout the campaign cycle. The position demanded comprehensive understanding of voter behavior analysis and statistical modeling that could provide competitive intelligence and strategic insights necessary for maintaining electoral advantages and identifying emerging opportunities or challenges. Rebecca's management approach emphasized collaborative strategic planning, combined with clear authority structures that enabled rapid decision-making, while maintaining coordination and communication among diverse professional teams and specialized functions. The organizational framework reflected her understanding of effective campaign management principles, while accommodating the personalities and working styles of experienced political professionals who required appropriate autonomy and recognition for their specialized expertise. The strategic planning sessions that commenced immediately following staff recruitment addressed comprehensive campaign development, including message framework establishment, media strategy coordination, grassroots organizing expansion and fundraising operation enhancement that would be necessary for competing effectively against Richardson's sophisticated campaign organization and established political advantage. The message development process required extensive analysis of voter preferences and policy priorities, alongside competitive assessment of Richardson's positioning and anticipated strategic approaches that would inform campaign communication and public engagement throughout the election cycle. Rebecca's strategic framework emphasized Governor Hendricks' administrative accomplishments and policy agenda, while identifying differentiating factors that would provide compelling reasons for voter loyalty and continued support. The media strategy development addressed both traditional journalism relationships and digital platform engagement that would reach diverse constituency groups through multiple communication channels and targeted messaging approaches. The comprehensive approach required coordination between earned media opportunities and paid advertising campaigns, while maintaining strategic message consistency and tactical flexibility for responding to developing political circumstances and competitive challenges. The grassroots organizing expansion involved establishing permanent campaign operations in priority counties, while recruiting and training volunteer coordinators whose local knowledge and community relationships would enhance voter contact effectiveness and coalition-building capability. The field operations strategy emphasized personal relationship development and community engagement that would provide sustainable organizational infrastructure beyond the immediate campaign period. The fundraising operation enhancement required developing comprehensive donor cultivation strategy that could compete effectively with Richardson's established financial networks, while identifying new funding sources and innovative approaches to resource development that would provide adequate campaign financing without compromising strategic independence or policy positioning. Rebecca's strategic coordination with Governor Hendricks addressed the complex balance between campaign activities and administrative responsibilities that would require careful management throughout the election period to maintain both electoral competitiveness and effective governance. The coordination framework established clear protocols for communication and decision-making that would preserve appropriate separation while enabling strategic alignment and mutual support between campaign operations and administrative functions. The timeline acceleration that Richardson's candidacy announcement had necessitated required immediate implementation of strategic activities and operational expansion that would typically occur over longer development periods, with more gradual resource allocation and staff recruitment process. Rebecca's management approach emphasized rapid deployment of proven campaign techniques, while maintaining quality standards and strategic coherence that would ensure effective competitive positioning from the campaign's earliest phases. The budget development process addressed comprehensive resource allocation among competing campaign priorities, while maintaining financial reserves for unexpected opportunities or crisis response requirements that might emerge throughout the extended election cycle. Rebecca's financial planning emphasized strategic investment in proven campaign techniques, while preserving flexibility for tactical adjustments and competitive responses that changing circumstances might require. The strategic coordination with political organizations and advocacy groups involved building coalition relationships that would enhance campaign effectiveness while maintaining independence and strategic flexibility necessary for managing diverse political environments and competing constituency priorities. Rebecca's approach emphasized mutual benefit and shared objectives, while avoiding commitments that might constrain strategic decision-making or tactical positioning during competitive campaign periods. The opposition research development addressed comprehensive analysis of Richardson's political background and previous campaign strategies, alongside assessment of potential vulnerabilities and strategic opportunities that could inform competitive positioning and tactical approaches throughout the election cycle.
The research framework emphasized factual accuracy and strategic relevance while maintaining ethical standards and legal compliance that would protect campaign credibility and professional reputation. The crisis management protocol establishment provided frameworks for rapid response to unexpected developments or negative situations that might threaten campaign effectiveness or electoral positioning during the competitive campaign period. Rebecca's strategic planning addressed both reactive response capabilities and proactive communication strategies that would minimize potential damage while maintaining strategic momentum and public confidence. The volunteer recruitment and training programs addressed the expanded organizational requirements for effective voter contact and community engagement that would be necessary for competing successfully against Richardson's established political networks and proven grassroots capabilities. The program development emphasized sustainable organizational growth and skill development that would provide long-term political infrastructure beyond the immediate campaign objectives. Rebecca's transition from strategic consultant to campaign manager required personal adaptation to enhanced responsibilities and public visibility that would characterize her professional role throughout the election period. The adjustment involved developing comfort with media interaction and public speaking alongside enhanced decision-making authority and strategic accountability that would affect both campaign success and personal reputation within political circles. The professional relationships that Rebecca would need to cultivate extended beyond immediate campaign staff to include media representatives, political consultants, and organizational leaders whose cooperation and support would influence campaign effectiveness and competitive positioning throughout the election cycle. The relationship development required strategic thinking about mutual interests and professional credibility, while maintaining appropriate boundaries and ethical standards. Up next, you've got two more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.